Good morning. Good morning. And on this beautiful Lord's Day, welcome to the Guilford Community Church. If you are seated near the center of our aisle, please sign our registration book. And I hope if you're seated around people you don't know, that you'll introduce yourself. Immediately following the worship service, please join us downstairs in our fellowship hall for coffee hour. And while you're down there, you can sign up for Guys Night Out, which is this coming Thursday, or Ladies Night Out, which is Friday. And then there's a sign-up sheet down there for Christmas threes if you'd like to purchase one for the Christmas holiday. I think Scott has some announcements.
Good morning. We have a couple special events coming up over at the Guilford Youth Center on Thanksgiving morning. We have our 9th annual GYC Turkey Trot 5K race and family walk. It's one of our bigger fundraisers of the year. I am in need of pies. We award pies to all our winners in the age brackets. So there's a form downstairs. If anyone is willing to make an extra pie that you could donate for the event, that would be greatly appreciated. And then the following Saturday, we have our Santaland. And Santaland's a community event for the kids. Kids will have various stations, games, and they get to meet Santa and have their picture taken with them. We also do a cookie walk. And with that being said, I'm in need of cookies. So there is a form downstairs. When you make a pie, you can make cookies too. But there is a form downstairs. If you could donate some cookies to that, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. And then we want to welcome Stu Boyson to our all-ladies bell choir. Thank you, bell choir. Now please stand and join me in our call to worship. The choices we make craft us into becoming who we are becoming.
Whether good or ill, it is what comes from within that tells us who we are.
As we gather this morning, may we sense the immense import of that reality.
And find deep within ourselves the power to
It has been a long week, O Lord, and filled with ups and downs, and we come from all the places of our separate lives to this moment. From days filled with love and grief, hope and worry, solitude and activity, we come seeking renewal. We come hoping to find things to celebrate. Lifting a cloud of our daily concerns, our pleasures and pains, we pause right now to give thanks. To feel wonder, to experience the privilege of being alive at this very moment. We have been apart this week. We come together and symbolize our community by joining our voices in the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Two weeks ago on Faith Proposal Sunday, we kicked off our 2017 pledge campaign with Rick Edson, our treasurer, sharing our budget with us. Last week, our church council chairperson, Jessica Fleck, shared with all of us very many important reasons why she supports this church. And this morning, Wendy Boyson, one of our newer members, but Wendy and Stu have both jumped right in. Wendy's going to share things that she finds so exciting about this wonderful place that we call the Guilford Community Church.
Good morning. I am Wendy Boyson. My husband Stu and I joined Guilford Community Church in June of this year after moving to Guilford full-time a year and a half ago. We actually purchased our home here in 2003 with the intention of using it often during a few years and then move up here permanently when the time was right. It took a lot longer than we had hoped for. When we came to Guilford Community Church, we loved it immediately. We remember meeting Mary and Walt Flynn, Carolyn and David Ames, Jim and Faith Rupert, along with Pastor Michael and Cindy, who all welcomed us so warmly. At our Garden City Presbyterian Church, we were members there for 36 years while raising 4 sons. Boy, son, 4 sons. We had many close friends, including pastors and their families, because, if you can believe it, we lived directly across the street from the pastor's house and the church. One of the first neighbors we met when we moved in turned out to be the pastor, who encouraged us to attend the church with our sons because it would be so much easier just to walk across the street rather than driving across town. Over the years, we became quite active. Stu worked in the Property Commission and was often called if alarms were going off, lights didn't work, heat wasn't working, or somebody needed to plow the snow, because he could hop over really quickly. He also helped with computers and finance. He was talked into joining the choir by an amazing man we continue to be friends with. Last weekend, we weren't here in Guilford because we were invited to attend this amazing man's birthday. His 100th birthday. It was an amazing celebration. He is remarkably in fantastic shape, with a great sense of humor and great mind. May we all be so lucky. Because of our sons, I became chairman of the Christian Education Committee doing many of the things we see Scott doing with the young ones and teens. I felt really busy as I was also serving as the secretary to a nearby Episcopal church for 20 years. During that time, I became aware of my call to serve God. With the advice from pastors and friends, I entered seminary part-time and graduated joyfully after 9 years. I found myself visiting members in hospitals, nursing, or private homes before working at hospice, and then later as a volunteer chaplain at a local hospital until we moved up here. During my early years in church, I remember the fall is important because we had stewardship talks during worship, helping each of us to understand that it was time to make our pledges to help the finances of the church. Until I was an elder and received monthly financial reports, I was so unaware of all the financial situations in churches. Budgets were made, but oftentimes circumstances would affect budgets unexpectedly. Members would move away, the building needed repairs, or a new staff person was needed. Stu and I felt in our hearts that as members of a congregation, it was our duty and it was our privilege to support our home church as best we could with our pledge, and if possible, increase it yearly. Since we've been coming to Guilford Community Church, we are so blessed by the support and encouragement of so many new friends. We love the activities like Got Lunch, men's and ladies' nights out, the adult study group, and helping at the fair. This year we decided if I joined the choir with Stu, we would be able to participate in something together. What an amazing blessing to be in the choir led by Carolyn and AJ. You may have noted we are now both playing in the bell choir as well. Our goal is to find new opportunities to serve in the years to come and to welcome new members as we have been. We smile each time we go to Hannaford's for groceries because nearly each time we're there, we see a fellow Guilford Community Church member doing the same thing. Several years ago, one of our most special memories was meeting Michael and Cindy in New York City before he ran the New York City Marathon. We watched him run by us and cross the finish line. Stu and I were happy to help them navigate the streets of the city and shared a meal together. Since we were friends with our pastor in Garden City who lived across the street, how neat it was to start becoming acquainted with our future pastor. We are grateful for his leadership and particularly enjoy his sermons. Moving Stu's 92-year-old mom up here was a difficult time, especially when she fell and broke her hip. Cindy and Michael were so helpful and supportive. We could see she was slipping away. On a Sunday 2 years ago at Guilford Community Church, the music lifted our spirits, and the prayers and sermon gave us hope. We went to Golden View immediately following the service. We saw she was really struggling, but receiving wonderful care. We held her hands, told her how much she was loved, and prayed for her to be comfortable as she passed away peacefully. We are so grateful to Michael for helping us find a funeral home during such a difficult time. Guilford Community Church is a community filled with wonderfully compassionate and caring people in good times and the not so good ones. We learn from one another. We can be ourselves. We can support our faith community and locally. Being members here is a gift and truly a mighty blessing. Let us all open our hearts and do what we can to support our church home. Thank you.
find ourselves in the place just right, we will be in the valley of love and delight.
When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed.
To turn, turn will be our delight, till by turning, turning we come round right. 'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis the gift to wander where we are to go. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, it will be in the valley of tears and delight. When true simplicity is painful, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, turning we come your way. For simple things give thanks.
Thank you, choir. That was beautiful. And if the children will come forward, you're going to have your time with Scott this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Now, I was supposed to talk to someone today. Do you all know Nick Aronstam? Yeah, I had him up here a few weeks ago. He wears shorts always. Well, I woke up this morning and said, I'm going to talk to Nick today. And guess what? He's not here. Uh-oh. Well, I was going to talk to Nick because I don't know if you knew this, but yesterday, Nick's football team, the 8th grade Guilford Middle School football team, won the championship, which was huge. So I was gonna ask Nick all about it, and he's not here. But I have Anya. Anya is Nick's sister. So Anya, were you at the game?
Yes.
How was it?
Good.
Good. Were they excited to be number one?
Yes.
Were they chanting, "We are number one"?
No.
I would chant if I won the championship. I think I would chant, "I'm number one." Don't rub it in other people's. That's good sportsmanship, isn't it? I do a lot of chanting when I watch the Patriots. But, you know, what made it unique about yesterday's championship win was the team that they played beat Guilford earlier in the year. What was the score? Do you remember?
0-52.
52-0. Plymouth beat Guilford, and then Guilford won yesterday. 12-8. Wow. You know, it must be a good feeling. Maybe Nick was so tired from the game that he slept in today, but I bet it was a wonderful feeling being number one. You know, that feeling, number one. And as us as Patriots fans, we know what it feels like to be number one. So we're going to do again. We're going to see who can be number one. I'm going to pass all of you out a number. And when I give it to you, don't open it yet. We're going to see who's number one. Okay? We'll open it together. So when I give this out, Anya, do you want to help me pass them out? I'm going to pass out all these. Here, give me some and I'll pass them this way. Don't open it. Don't open it yet. And you can take one and give one to the person next to you. And we're going to open it together. Now, if you get number one, you have to shout out, "I'm number one," as loud as you can. You have one? Hold on, don't open it. Does everyone have one? Jovi, you need one right here? I don't have one. You know, Reverend Michael, he said that once he told me that I was the number one employer here whose name was Mr. Scott. But it feels good to be number one. So let's see who's number one. You ready? And remember, if you get number one, you got to shout out, I'm number one. You ready? Set, open them up. You're number one? You're number one? I'm number one. Oh my goodness. Let me see. What number are you? You're number one. You're all ones. You know why they're all ones? There's a reason they're all number ones. Whose? Clark's? Oh, it's a lower black welder. They're all number ones. Because no matter who you are and what your talents are and how different you are from one another, whatever your hobbies are in life, whatever your views are in life, in this church and in God's eyes, you are always, always number one. And that's something that you should not only celebrate, but you should never forget. All right? Number one. All right, well, thank you for taking Nick's spot today, and thank you for coming up today. Oh, you made an airplane. Nice. What? I'm bunching them. Thanks, buddy.
I do have some prayer concerns to share with you this morning. I want to continue to keep Bee Snow's mother. She lives in Maine and is under hospice care. Keep Bee's mom in your prayer. Bee begins her skin cancer treatment at Dartmouth Hospital shortly, so please keep Bee in your thoughts and prayers as well. Evie Bray continues to recover. I believe she's still at Genesis. And of course, Veterans Day was Friday, so we want to take a moment to thank all of our brave men and women who have served their country and those actively serving. Yesterday, we had a memorial service for a 30-year-old young man, Taylor Schaefer, so I'd ask you to keep Taylor's family, his mom, his dad, and his sister in your thoughts and prayers. And then we have a great joy. Our little choir director turns 30 today, A.J. Coppola.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear AJ. Happy birthday to you.
It's also Jim Colburn's birthday. So happy birthday, Jim. So mindful of the people I have mentioned this morning, as well as our veterans, let us enter a spirit of prayer. On this day, and at least for the rest of this day, may we have the gift of grateful hearts. Throughout this day, may we be mindful of the many blessings life has entrusted to us. May we expand our capacity for love and service. As another week begins and obligations and duties threaten to overwhelm us, bring to mind the beauty of this moment, the beauty of this place, and the life and bonds that we share with one another. We hold open our hearts to our dear friends who are hurting. We pray for the people in this congregation. We also ask that our hearts might be expanded. We might have a place in them for others beyond our circle of friendship. That we might do what we can to alleviate their suffering, even if it's a simple smile or a good morning, how are you? And then we give thanks today and every day for all those people throughout this world of ours who are so committed to making their communities more peaceful, more inclusive, more open, and more supportive of those with all sorts of needs. May we be such a people, and always eager to join hearts and hands with those working for the common good, for this is our prayer. Amen. And now, as one way of expressing your gratitude for life's many blessings, I invite you to present your offering.
Love is patient, love is kind. Love does not worry, does not boast. It is not proud, it is not rude. It is not easily angered. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Love never fails, never fails. I promise you, my love will never fail, and I will give to you faith, hope, and love. Love does not delight in evil. Love will always protect, always trust and always hope, and it will persevere. Love rejoices in truth. Love never fails, never fails. I promise you, my love will never fail, and I will give to you faith, hope, and love. Love never fails, never fails. but the greatest of these is love. I give you love.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above the heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
We are grateful for all those people in our lives who have taught us about love by loving us. Expand our capacity, enlarge our hearts to be more loving. As we offer these gifts, we do so with this intention, that they might help us to make visible your love in our community and beyond. This is our prayer. Amen.
And for your healing touch, too long have we felt helpless. Our burdens seem too much. Forgetting all pretenses, we make our pleadings heard. In hope and expectation, await your gracious word. We long to have a mansion and travel by your side. Strong friends to call and answer, with whom we are allied. As we lift up each other, when struggles lay us low. Community develops, unveiled and very we need your living presence, O Christ of
In our prayer time this morning, I had meant to mention Martha Dolben, Barbara Harris's daughter. She's returned to Uganda to continue her important work with women's educational issues in Uganda. So let's all keep Martha in our thoughts and prayers this week as well. Our gospel reading this morning comes from the 21st chapter of Luke's gospel, beginning at verse 5 and continuing through verse 19. Luke 21. When some people were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, Jesus said, As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another, all will be thrown down. They asked him, Teacher, when will this be? And what will be the sign that this is about to take place? Jesus said, Beware that you are not led astray, for many will come in my name and say, I am he. The time is near. Do not go after them. When you hear rumors of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately. Then he said to them, Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues, and there will be dreadful signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, they will arrest you, persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance. For I will give you words and wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, by relatives and friends, and some will be put to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, yet not a hair of your head will perish. By your endurance, you will gain your souls. Here ends the reading. I mentioned in my weekly email that I had hoped to write the sermon before the election. I wanted at least to seem objective. But I got busy and didn't get around to the sermon until Wednesday, so here goes. At just past 1 o'clock on Wednesday morning, I was jolted wide awake. Now, I'd stayed up late for me, 10:30. That's late for me. Before I powered down my iPad and went to bed. At 1 o'clock when I woke up, I reached over to see if Cindy was there, and she was still downstairs watching the election results. I grabbed my iPad, put on my glasses, and went to the thinking room. Trump victory likely flashed one message on the screen. Global markets plunge, another message read. A couple of minutes later, I was back in bed. A few restless hours later, at 4 o'clock, I was on the treadmill doing my 9-mile morning run, watching the news. By 6 o'clock, I was safely parked at my desk, ready for the day's events. By 7, I'd received about 10 emails from some of you. By about 9 o'clock, I'd already answered the phone twice. People calling in great distress. How could this have happened? What are we going to do? Now, while all that was going on, I was opening other emails from people who were tickled pink. Finally, Michael, we have our country back. This is a great day. I thought back to that message at 1 o'clock on my iPad. Global financial markets plunge. Of course, later in the day, they rallied. But throughout the day, I read other articles that suggested the end of the world was upon us. This is the worst thing, more than one author declared. This is the worst thing to ever happen. Now, I'm not the smartest person around, but I'm pretty sure that had the results turned out differently, those who were elated would have been every bit as despondent and would have voiced their predictions that the world is coming to end. So let's be clear. No side has a monopoly on overreacting. Last Sunday night, right after Steve and Donna's wedding, I went home and I do what I do every Sunday evening. I read the gospel passage for the following Sunday morning, the one I just read from Luke 21. And when I did, I reacted like I frequently do when I read one of those end-time texts that seem to lace their way through the Bible. Not one stone will be left, wars and rumors of war. And I muttered to myself as I read those familiar words, not again. Not another one of these gloomy apocalyptic texts that suggest the world's end is imminent. Everything is unraveling. So Wednesday, as some were voicing their laments, predicting the end of the Western world, that's what I heard from a couple of sources. It dawned on me Wednesday that as far back as we can go in written history, people have been predicting the end of the world. When things look bleak, lots of us lose all perspective. This pessimistic outlook must be endemic to the human condition. But here's what I wonder. I wonder if there isn't a better way to respond when things don't go like we might be expecting them to go. I wonder if we would put on our big boy and big girl pants. We might realize that moments like these offer a gift. Oh, sure, we can gloat, or we can be angry, we can keep calling each other names, or perhaps we might do something more constructive. Now, for those who think this is the worst thing that ever happened, let me remind all of us that our country endured a bloody civil war. For the first 144 years of this nation's existence, women couldn't vote. Then there were those two little wars, sandwiched between them the Great Depression, 9/11, and lots of things that were less than desirable. So, let's all take a deep breath. And then think about this. In this very room, where we share so much in common, where we have gathered too many times with broken hearts when loved ones died too soon, and other occasions this very room has been filled with unbounded joy, as young couples, or in Steve and Donna's case, not so young couples, have committed their lives to each other. And still other times we've gathered around the font, celebrating and pledging our love and support as a young mom or dad brought their little one here to be baptized. This sacred place has witnessed all of that and more. And yet, half of us this morning are elated, and half of us are devastated. And yet we choose to do today what we do every other Sunday. We roll up our sleeves, we worship together, and we commit ourselves to working together. Because we believe that if we do those things, tomorrow will be a little bit better than if we didn't. Places like this can hold these deep divisions and tension without succumbing to vitriol. For here we allow ourselves to see good in those we might otherwise demonize. If you voted for Donald Trump, I assume you deeply loathe his statements of bigotry and hate. And if you voted for Hillary Clinton, I assume with all my heart you don't believe that half of the nation is a basket of deplorables. Regardless of what you think about President Obama, he was spot on Wednesday when he said, now everyone is sad when their side loses an election, but the day after we have to remember that we're actually on the same team. This is an intramural scrimmage. We're not Democrats first, we're not Republicans first, we're Americans first, patriots first. We all want what's best for our country. I hope that's true. It's what I choose to believe. We all want what's best for our country, especially for our children's children. And to get there, I need to be willing to compromise on some things, and so do others. If we are to survive and thrive, we must learn to hold these divisions with compassion. All of us are stakeholders in this great experiment called American democracy. We need to learn to listen to each other without fear. And if we do that, we will discover that we share lots in common. Not everything, of course, but that's okay. And we need to stop scapegoating and demonizing, whether it's the immigrant or just someone who thinks differently than we do. We need to hold what we believe and know with conviction while we're willing to allow others the same space to do the same thing. Every once in a while, I'll hear a couple say, we never fight. We never argue. Whenever I hear that, I want to gag. I want to vomit all over them. How utterly sad and shallow. There is nothing wrong with a good fight. Nothing wrong with a good, honest debate. Life, someone has written, life in a democracy is gritty and imperfect, and we are often conflicted and torn by what to do. But those differences can, if we are willing, become grist for democracy's mill, and they can lead us to better ideas than might have been possible if we didn't duke it out civilly and respectfully. All of us need to probe more, to ask more questions, to question everything, to think and to really think, not just to assume that what we're being told is true, but to question everything. And then we need to explore perspectives that we hadn't considered before, to try from time to time to see things from another's shoes or vantage point. Here's a question. When was the last time you changed your mind on something of significance? And if it's been since the Truman administration, shame on you. Parker Palmer is a beautiful, wonderful, gentle human being and a thoughtful, insightful writer. But he suggests we need two things today: chutzpah and humility. By chutzpah, he writes, I mean knowing that I have a voice that needs to be heard, and I have the right to speak it. Too many people in our country feel they don't have a voice. So we need to discover chutzpah. But chutzpah needs to be married to humility. And by humility, Parker says, I mean accepting the fact that my truth is always partial and may not be true at all. So I need to listen with openness and respect. Every single religious tradition in the world agrees at its best on this, that we are all in this together. My welfare is integrally wrapped around your welfare. I appreciate the insight of a 13th century Persian poet who wrote these wonderful words. Out of a great need, we are all holding hands and climbing. Not loving is letting go. Listen, the terrain around here is far too dangerous for that. Not loving is letting go. We can't do that, for we're all in this together. And these are trying times. Together we will rise or fall. And this is no time to be egged on by the hucksters of hate who can manipulate us like we are one of Pavlov's dogs as they peddle fear like there's no tomorrow. I'll close with these familiar words. Words as important today as they were when President Lincoln first spoke them 155 years ago as he closed his first inaugural address. Mr. Colby? We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bond of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. And now, having gathered together for worship, may we go forth with a sense of joy and purpose as we aspire to be channels of peace in our world. Amen.